Well, it's about time, right? Jamie and Julia and croissants. 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 Crescent rolls.
Bon appétit.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to our kitchen. And it's fantastic to see you. You know that to be true. Now, where am I headed today? Over here. I'll take that. Quite literally dusting off Julia Child's cookbook today. For the first time this year. That's a 5-month break. It's the longest I've ever gone without, you know, I've been making Jamie and Julia since 2020. It's a lot of time and butter and, you know, I needed a break. A little trial separation just to see if I could hold up on my own, you know, throw some new ideas into the mix. I don't want to be just the Julia Child guy. You know, I don't want it to be on my tombstone, here lies Jamie and Julia dude. He watched the Meryl Streep movie and then he had an idea to make it into a YouTube thing and then he died. I want more than that. But just when I thought I was out, she comes dragging me back in. I'm kidding, of course. I missed her and we're not done. We still got lots to do. So I'm coming back strong and gonna make something today that, believe it or not, I have never made before because I always just thought I would screw it up. And that's probably true, but I'm gonna try anyway. So the recipe is in Mastering the Art of French Cooking V2, and it is croissants. Croissants. It's a very intimidating recipe from Julia here, and you know, there's a lot of words and steps to this recipe. It's an 8-pager. Now, I think croissants are like one of my favorite things in food. It's not really an earth-shattering thing to say, I know, but maybe this is. I wasn't always a fan. I never really understood them as a kid because we would buy them from like a Canadian suburban grocery store. You'd bring them home in that awkward plastic case. Yes, that's what I'm talking about right there, that dumb case. You buy them in bulk and then you bring them home and they're already soft. There's no crispiness to them. They're just kind of limp and unremarkable, really. So I never really understood what the big whoop was. It wasn't until I moved to Europe and then I was like, oh, okay, now I understand the power of these things. Tender yet crispy and flaky and buttery and puffy. When I was living in Belgium, right down the street from my place, there was I tell you, it was like the best croissant I've ever had. I shall show you this place. So living around there, so you would walk down the street and there it is, Village de Pain. Best croissants I've ever had, and they would serve them with like an assortment of jam and Nutella. Take the train from Brussels to Antwerp, and then we got another amazing croissant right there. I mean, that's in Belgium too. You want to hightail it over to Paris, then you're in croissant heaven, right? Wow, Jamie, you're just so cool and so cultured. And let's move on to this recipe here. The most delicious of French croissants, to our mind, are those called croissants de boulanger, which are made of risen yeast milk and flour dough that is flattened out, slathered in butter and folded in 3 and yada, yada, yada. This is the old classic method, as she describes here, and minimum time required to make croissants is 11 to 12 hours. So, chop chop. Let's have a good day today. I was just warming up the milk, microwaves that way. All right, so we're at the very beginning of this dough making process. Got a lot of steps. Bowl me. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna skip the very first step here, which is active dry yeast. Instead, I'm going with the instant stuff because this is what I have in the kitchen. I'd like to use it, and they're interchangeable, right? And I just, you know what, I'll be honest, I like using the instant stuff a little more because it gives me instant results. I don't have to do that whole step of proofing it in the water. I know that this yeast is good to go. So this is an envelope, which is more than I need, so I need a teaspoon and a quarter. And that just means I can add the flour in with the yeast. This is 1 3/4 cup worth of all-purpose flour, around 227 grams worth. Combine all of that. Great stuff. 3/4 cup worth of warmed milk, warm to tepid. And I'm gonna drop in 1.5 teaspoons of salt and 3 teaspoons of sugar. Gotta dissolve them. Oh, right, and then I got my 3 tablespoons of warmed water. That was gonna be for proofing the yeast, but I don't need to do that, so I was just gonna go in with milk. Bring over the flour and pour in the liquid, as well as 2 tablespoons of a tasteless oil. Okay, so I'm gonna blend all of this together using a rubber spatula. Julia, have you met Chuck? Okay, so now this goes on to a kneading surface. Should there be flour on that surface? Probably. Let it rest for 2 to 3 minutes while you wash and dry the bowl. Specific. Do what I'm told. Flour around you as a safety net here. Okay, very specific way we gotta knead this dough here because you wanna just enough body so that the dough will hold together when eventually rolled out, but you do not want to overactivate the gluten and make the dough difficult to handle. Right, so that being said, start kneading by lifting near edge and using a scraper to help you and flipping it over onto the other side. Rapidly repeat the movement from one side to the other, end over end, 8 to 10 times. That should be that. Switch the page. Oh dear. So I'm gonna take the dough, which is around 2 cups worth of dough that's uber sticky, and it needs to rise up 3.5 times its original volume, or around 7 cups. Wait, what are you doing? No, this makes sense. Okay, so it's very specific here how we should do this. Cover it up with plastic wrap, or how about my reusable wrap here, and then a towel on top. That's what it says. And it needs to rise to the 7-cup mark right there. Okay, room temperature, I just need this to veg out. It's the first of 2 rises that needs to take place today. First one's gonna take around 3 to 4 hours, however long it takes for it to rise up to there. So you gotta plan your day accordingly. I'm gonna go do something, I think. Now today's episode is once again sponsored by Bombas. Their socks make me feel like, hey, maybe I got my life together after all. But if I don't, well, at least my feet are good, right? I can't control much. Not my cooking outcomes, definitely not my sleep schedule anymore. I don't really bother with the inbox. That's just kind of a lost cause. If there's one little piece of self-respect I think I can manage here, it's putting on a clean, comfortable pair of Bombas socks. Yeah, they're breathable, they're durable, and they got plenty of options for boot wearing, Jamie, low profile, Jamie. I'm going on a run, but probably not, Jamie. My socks can now match my personality crisis. So Bombas spent 2 years perfecting these things, and it does show, but if you disagree, no sweat. You send them right back, they have a 100% happiness guarantee. And they ship to over 200 countries too, so no matter where you are in the world, you can Bombas your way right through it. So go to bombas.com/antichef, use my code ANTICHEF and get 20% off your first order. Thank you, Bombas. All right, so that's what, 5-ish cups. We didn't make our way to 7, but we're, okay. Well, I waited a full 4 hours. I'm not waiting a minute more. You gotta loosen the dough from the sides of the bowl, and that will deflate it. Okay, then onto the floured surface. With my floured hands, I gotta push the dough into rectangle shape. There we go. 12 inches, cool, by 8. Fold that into the letter fold, 1 fold, and take that. This dough is still kind of sticky. And then take the other end and fold that on top of there, and it is kind of a stickier dough. She didn't want you to overwork the dough or it'd be difficult to work with, she said, although I feel like underdoing it the way I did here has made it incredibly sticky and difficult to work with. Now, while I was waiting for this dough to rise, I got to watching Julia Child on her show make croissants.
I'm Julia Child. We're going to make French croissants today.
And it's a completely different method than what she's got going on with the book. Yeah, she's a little more rougher with it than what I've been doing with the dough today. So I figure then, well, why don't I just kind of She was doing something like this.
See what I'm doing? I'm just lifting it up and slapping it down and then gathering it together again.
And because I think this dough is a little too sticky, I think it needs a little reawakening. So I gotta fold this in 3 again. This time around, I'm gonna have this hang in a bowl. And yeah, that's what it looks like now. It needs to double in size. So, you know, it's probably gonna take a couple more hours. The choice is yours or mine. What do you wanna do with your time? Do you wanna wait around, or do you wanna put it in the fridge, as she says, a delayed action, let it rise overnight, pick it back up in the morning? Well, I've made my decision. Hello, it's the next day. Feeling good. Regardless with however I went about my business with that second rise, either room temperature or in the fridge like I did right here, this next step applies to both. I gotta scrape the dough from the bowl onto a lightly floured plate, and you wanna cover that airtight in the fridge for another 20 minutes. Julia is like giving us like a huge window of like opportunity here with the butter. 4 to 7 ounces of chilled butter. I guess it's up to me however much I want to use. So I opted for around 6.8 ounces. So we're coming in around a stick and 3/4 worth of butter. With a Julia Child croissant recipe, I figure the more butter, the merrier. So in the TV show, Julia has a bit of a, well, she shows off her rolling pins because she likes to just kind of show you what she's got in her arsenal. And I'm gonna do the same. Now she has something similar to this one, which is kind of for French baguettes. She got hers in France.
This one that I have here, I picked up when we were in France.
And my one here I got off Amazon, so it's not as cool. Standard wood rolling pin. This is the one I was first introduced to in my life. I think my mom had one. I was also using one in grade 10 home economics class, keeping in mind that I was in grade 12 at the time. And this was gifted to me from a viewer. A marble rolling pin. Godspeed on your puff pastries. Thanks for the great channel, Matt. This is a nice one too, holy hell. Now it's heavy, it's marble, and you keep it in the freezer until you need to use it. So it is ice cold. I'm gonna be using it shortly with this recipe so that I can keep the butter cold when I'm rolling it. I'm gonna first beat the butter to soften it. Smear it with the heel of your hand until it is a spreading consistency. She hasn't mentioned forming it into like a rectangular kind of thing like that, but I've done that in the past, so I'll, do it again. Yeah, so we're just gonna keep that in the fridge until we're ready for it. Should be around another 10 minutes, so just chill. So lightly floured surface, dough onto that. Now with lightly floured palms of my hands, I'm gonna make myself a rectangle here, pushing and patting it out until it is 14 by 8 inches. Take the chilled butter and spread it evenly on the upper 2/3 of the dough. Leave around a 1/4 inch around the edges. Do this thing called the letter fold. Take the bottom piece and that goes into the center. Top butter piece on top. Whoa, hey. That's okay. All right, so that's 3 layers of dough separated by 2 layers of butter. That's considered turn number 1. So I want the flap from the fold to be to my right, and I got my chilled marble rolling pin. It is uber chill. This is why it comes in handy, because the butter's been spread out and it's warming up, and this is just gonna help me, it's gonna buy me some time. So I need 14 by 6, exactly. Fold it as if we're folding that letter. Again, 7 layers of dough separated by 6 layers of butter. This is turn 2. Okay, so I wrap it up in wax paper into a plastic bag, 1.5 to 2 hours in the fridge. So I'm just gonna do 2 hours just to play it safe because I've been in this position before and playing it safe is the only way out of this. I gotta tell you something here. Turns 3 and 4 were completed without the microphone. Here's the batteries. These culprits right here, they died. So let me just kind of bring you up to speed. First thing I had to do after the 2 hours in the fridge, I unwrapped the dough, I sprinkled it lightly with flour, then I started tapping it lightly, just tapping it with the rolling pin to deflate it. And in order to relax the gluten even further, you had to cover and let it rest for 8 to 10 minutes. During that break, I pretended to read this book on the windowsill there. I thought the shot looked cool. After that, I was ready to roll out the dough, and I started to roll it out into a rectangle, and I noticed that the butter was congealed into hard flakes, and it was a worrisome moment for me. So she tells me to beat the dough with light, firm taps for a minute or so, going from one side to the other until the butter has softened. So I did that, and the butter did soften. So what I had to do is roll the dough out into a rectangle, 14 by 6 inches long. Once I had my rectangle, I had to fold the rectangle in 3, do the letter fold thing, place it so that the flap is to the right as if you're opening a book, rolled it out into a rectangle again for the 4th and final turn, and then I folded it in 3, and there we have it. That's where we're at. 55 layers of dough, allegedly. I'm pretty stoked about it. It does look great, and you know, kind of concerned with things, but also I'm always a little concerned with what I'm doing in life. So I'm gonna wrap it back up and get it back into the baggie, and this is gonna chill for 2 hours, or you can leave it overnight covered with a board and a 5-pound weight. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it in the fridge to chill. As you discover when you're making croissants, it's a hurry up and wait sort of thing. So yeah, it's showtime. Okay, now this dough is chilled and it is ready. To deflate, tap several times gently with a rolling pin. Now we gotta relax that gluten for 10 minutes. Roll this into a rectangle 20 by 5, right? Yes, split it in half lengthwise. Keep 1/2 chilled. We gotta roll this dough into 15 inches long by 5. Cut 3 crosswise. 1, 2. Okay, and those can go off to the side. You're gonna roll this into a 5.5 inch square. Cut this on the diagonal. I gotta make this into 2 triangles. Holding one of the triangles of the dough by its large end, roll it toward the point to make a triangle. What the hell are you talking about? Roll it out toward the point to make the triangle about 7 inches long. That's exactly 7. Then to extend the large end slightly, stretch the 2 top angles of the triangle lightly between your thumb and your forefingers, enlarging the end about 1 inch in all. Start rolling up the croissant by folding the large end forward onto itself, and then holding the point with the fingers of your left hand. Can I just use my right for demonstration purposes? Finish the roll under the fingers in the palm of your right hand. Okay. Okay, that's definitely 100% not what it's supposed to look like. That is, we're gonna see what that looks like once it's baked. Okay, that looked very funny. This one is getting, oh, Jamie. Ay, caramba. These are not looking good. Better here, but that's kind of like petite. So what I got here is a hodgepodge of really just not great results at all. I mean, most of these I was just kind of practicing because the dough got way too soft, way too fast. So this is where we're at right now. I have the other half of dough chilling in the fridge. That's all I have. If I don't succeed with that, game over. So I'm gonna take it out of the fridge. I'm gonna focus on what I'm doing. I'm not gonna say a peep. 5.5 inch square. I gotta make 2 triangles. Extend the large end slightly and stretch the top two angles of the triangle lightly between your thumbs. Start rolling the croissant by folding the large end forward on itself. And then holding the tip with my left hand, keep it rolling, keep it rolling, keep it. And, okay, I mean, sure. Yeah. Okay, so with the end face down on the baking sheet, bend the two ends together to make a crescent shape. Ignore those. To say that I crashed and burned when it mattered the most would be accurate, actually. I don't know what happened. Things got out of hand and the dough started to dwindle. And then I just kind of ran out of dough, and by the time that I had figured out how to do it, and I'm still kind of on the fence about that, I was out very worried right now of how this is gonna play out. I have no idea. If I was like following a video on how to do this, I feel like I wouldn't have got myself in this situation. Just like following Julia's words on the page, and I'm just like very stubborn that that's the way I have to do it here. And sometimes I'm not so bright, so it's just kind of a recipe for disaster. So this is a final rise of 1.5 hours at room temperature. They got a triple in size. I will believe that when I see it. Hey, what's up? Things are not looking good. So good morning, guten tag, hello everyone. Welcome to another day. We are, yeah, you're counting them, 3 days into this process, and things could not look any worse. They probably could, but this is not an ideal situation to be in. So I let this rise on the counter for 1.5 hours. She said it would rise to almost 3 times the size. Not even remotely close. It barely even looked like it changed at all. So I knew, and also the book said that you could do the final rise in the fridge overnight. So that's what I ended up doing, because I was like, okay, well, I want to let this rise a bit more, do it in the fridge. I really cannot describe to you the disappointment I had this morning when I came in, opened the fridge door, and it looked like that. I know why we're in this situation, and I know better. I rolled the dough out way too thin. Way too thin. And I know why my brain thought that was a good idea.
She says to roll the dough out into rectangles, firstly 20 by 5 inches, and then you do a bunch of things, and then 15 by 5 inches, and then into square, that's 5.5 inches square, and then a triangle, and you stretch the triangle out into 7 inches.
I did all that, but I never put into consideration the thickness of the dough. I don't know why. I forgot all about that. Went over my head, and the reason why is because Julia didn't mention anything about the thickness, so I was like, doesn't matter. I've seen croissant dough before, and it's thick. So I don't know what the hell I was smoking. It must have been really good. Anyway, maybe when it comes to baking, because I'm so terrible at it, I should always make a backup dough. In an ideal situation, I would just go ahead and redo all of this, but there's no quick way around it really. And here's the thing, the video that you're watching right now needs to be on the internets in 1.5 days. So the timing of all that doesn't even work anyway, because yeah, I've run out of time. So with some egg mixed with a little bit of water, I gotta paint my egg glaze. Just going through the motions. The oven's set to 475 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a scorcher in there. And I have to bake this for around 10 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna guess on the lower side of that time estimate, just based on how things are looking here. And I need to bake them until they are puffed up and browned. And they gotta be super puffed up right now for this to be a success. So, middle rack. How did I mess up the croissants? Okay. I hate these. That's not the crescent roll I was thinking of when I first started this journey. Order up. So to further humiliate myself, I have picked up an actual croissant here. So you can see this, I didn't make that, I wish. You can see the alarming difference between what's going on here. Look at that, that is a beautiful thing. Whoa. Now that is good looking stuff, right? And how about mine? At least when you open it up, you can see some of the hard work in there. You know, nice crumb, right? Just needs to be around 3 times bigger than this. What is this, a croissant for ants? Let's try to have a good time here. So, your choice of jam. Okay, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? And this is what Julia does on her show here. She scoops up some of the jam into her croissant. So it's flaky, it's buttery, it's got a little crisp to it. It is still good, it still checks out. It's just missing some of the internal tenderness because there's not enough internal going on. So with the croissant that I bought from the store, obviously it was just much more robust internally. So there's just far more room on the inside for it to be tender, right? Oh, so tender. That's what mine's missing. It's just like, I made that one. All right, I'm eating my words, kind of. It's still good, it's just, you know, a little disappointing. The butteriness and just the overall flavor, actually. That's what I prefer with my one. But the one that I got from the outside, because it was so big and just robust and the inside had so much more room to do whatever it had to do, it's more tender on the inside, and then the outside has got that nice crispy flakiness, and it's just like the perfect combination. But flavor-wise, I'd give it to mine. I guess that is a small victory. Small victory for a petite croissant. All right, book can go back there. Who knows when she returns? You just never...
If you're gonna have a sense of fear of failure, you're just never gonna learn how to cook.
We have unfinished business, her and I. This was Jamie and Julia. Bon appetit. Au revoir.
Cooking is one failure after another, and that's how you finally learn. For instance, you got to have developed what the French call je m'en foutisme, or I don't care what happens, I'm gonna learn, I shall overcome. Bon appetit.